Everyone, and thank you very much for joining us for this very special presentation today. This week is our Kerby Center Wellness Week, and our presentation today, part of our week-long series, featuring some of Calgary's leading providers of information, products, services for 55+ lifestyle. We hope through these presentations to provide you with ways to enhance your health, stay active, and live your best lives. As we gather here today, it's vital we also remember the peoples who have gathered here for millennia. This is the Treaty 7 land of the Indigenous peoples of Southern Alberta, the Blackfoot Nations of Siksika, Piikani, Kainai, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, the Stoney Nakoda Nations of Chiniki, Bears Paw, Wesley, and the historic home of the Northwest Métis and Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3. It is with the goal of reconciliation that we acknowledge the land in which we gather, and we thank the elders of these nations for their timeless contributions to this land. And today, we're pleased to welcome Griffin Simony, co-founder of Shift Accessibility Contractors Ltd. Griffin is a civil engineering graduate with a passion for enabling individuals to stay within their homes alongside their memories and family. This passion led him to founding Shift Accessibility Contractors in the winter of 2018, alongside his business partner, Josh. He understands the value of accessibility to the public and believes in creating spaces that can be enjoyed by all. It is so important that we can keep people in their homes. Griffin, tell us how you can make a home you can age in.
Yeah, thank you very much. And hello, everyone. As stated, my name is Griffin, one of the co-founders of Shift Accessibility. And we can get right into the presentation where we go through some of the modifications that you can make into your home, as well as some of the process for how you would go about that. Yeah, and then we can have any questions at the end. So I will get my screen share up. Perfect. Awesome. So that's all showing up well for you, Colleen?
Yes, it is. Looks good.
Okay, awesome. Alrighty, yeah, so hello everyone again. Welcome to A Home to Age In. I'm Griffin Simony. And today we'll be talking about how you can modify your home to help you age comfortably in it. So a little bit about ourselves. Colleen mentioned to start, but we are Shift Accessibility. We're a general contractor. So what that means is that we work in modifying the homes kind of from a construction standpoint for seniors, people with disabilities, really anyone who's looking to make their home safer and more comfortable to age in. And we try to do this with no risk to the aesthetic of the home. One of the things that makes us a bit unique as a general contractor is that we put a lot of value into the working relationship with health professionals, interior designers, and other professionals to ensure that while we are, making these at a good cost and trying to do things to the highest quality, we're also meeting the intent functionally, both for current needs as well as future needs, which is a huge aspect of anyone who's looking to put money into a renovation for their home. So a little bit about ourselves quickly. So we were, it's myself, Griffin, as well as Josh, you can see there in some of the photos with me. We were basically founded off our own experiences based around the lack of accessibility that we saw within Calgary. Speaking for myself, what really kind of kickstarted this whole thing for me was that I moved out to Calgary from the East Coast, where my father's from here, so I got to reconnect a lot more with my grandparents. And unfortunately, due to some physical disabilities, they had to move out of their bungalow and into an assisted living facility. And then once they got into that facility and I was there visiting with them, we actually realized that there was a lot of aspects of this space that was supposed to be meant for, seniors to be able to thrive in and live in independently, that were actually limiting them. And there were actually quite a few barriers that they had to still work with every single day to try and complete tasks such as doing the laundry, accessing some of the cabinetry, as well as some of the finishes within the bathroom. So we kind of saw this as an opportunity to use our experience and our skills to make a change and advocate for what we call universal design, which is designing spaces that can work for anybody and everybody, with accessibility in mind, but also manage to integrate it in a way where you're not compromising the aesthetic of your home, because as we all know, a big concern is, is this going to impact my resale value? Is this going to make my home look like a hospital or institutionalized? And the passion we really have comes from trying to make everything come together in a home that you love, as well as works for you and functions and is safe and comfortable. So some of the questions that we're going to answer here today, just to kind of give you a look at what we'll be talking about. The first one is going to be, what will modifications improve in my home? So this is basically, how can my home and my life be improved through these modifications? Then we're going to talk about what are some of the common issues in the home. So we're going to look at the primary areas of concern, especially the ones that we're brought out for regularly to take a look at, and then what a lot of our projects are based around. Then we'll look at what are some of the solutions to these concerns and how did we integrate accessibility and into the home to make it work better for the individuals. Who can help me in this process? This will be looking again at some of those professionals that I talked about earlier and what their roles are to play in creating a home that works for you. The financial options, obviously, it costs money, and modifications and things like that. And so we've really worked hard to kind of familiarize ourselves with different financing options, different grants, and other organizations that can help with the funding aspect of your project. Then we have what steps should I take? So this is kind of next steps after this. And then what are some things that I can do myself or with some help of, family members and friends? So some things you can just look around your home and get a family member to do for you, or something that you can just do to slightly improve the accessibility without, some of these bigger scale renovations that we're going to talk about. So looking at what these modifications can improve upon in your home. The first one obviously is safety. Modification to your home with accessibility in mind and aging in place in mind, you're really going to reduce kind of the number of slips, trips, and falls that can be a risk when moving through the home, as well as help with avoiding some of those long-term movement patterns. If you're always having to climb over something, you're always having to squeak by something, kind of those repetitive movements can really wear on the body, and we're trying to reduce that as much as possible. The next thing we're going to talk about improving is comfort. So removing these barriers and workarounds that you've had to develop in your home just allows for more comfortable living within the space that you call home. Obviously, accessibility is another one that we're going to improve. This helps you access and function in the home freely without barriers. Then we'll talk about kind of the independence, something that we all want, but sometimes our homes can actually interfere with dependence built at the moment. And this into your life. So the summation of all these points is that these modifications can improve your quality of life by improving independence, comfort, safety, and all of that in your home. So now we'll kind of look at the overview of what we're talking about for these issues in the homes. One is entry. Entry into the home is always a big one, and I think it's something that everyone here is probably familiar with seeing, at least around town or at other homes, is access into the home in a way that's independent. So a lot of homes around here, multiple steps up to the front door, multiple steps to the back door. How do we kind of get around some of these issues in a way that can be cost effective, doesn't pull away from aesthetic, and is also safe? We'll talk about paths of travel. So this is more so in the home, but we're looking at kind of what the challenges and barriers are that you have that can interfere with just how you're moving through the home. The bathrooms, this is a very common one. And again, another one I'm sure we're all familiar with is seeing, the stepping into tubs, low toilets, slippery floors, all those sorts of items where the bathroom kind of can become a bit of a hazard area depending on what the configuration is. And then finally, we'll look at the multi-level homes. So this is a big one, navigating the stairs all day, laundry's in the basement, bedrooms upstairs, and you've got the kitchen on the main level. What are some of the options for avoiding these issues or making it a bit easier to get around your home? And we'll go through all these in greater detail, and I'll actually take you through some of the solutions that we've done on past projects. So starting with entry, we can talk about some of the issues that there are in these images. So with this first one, you have extensive stairs and there's not really a whole lot of lateral support. You have the one railing, but it was really difficult for these clients to get up and down all of these stairs to get into their back door, especially for clients where they are using a mobility device, whether that's a walker or a wheelchair. It can be a huge challenge for some people. On this other one, we're looking at kind of a large elevation change between the front of the home to the front door. Looking at this image, I'm sure you guys are all thinking, you know, this looks like most houses that we have here in Calgary, and I'm sure it's similar to some homes that we all live in. And so, you know, exceeding that 2 feet, again, lots of stairs, no lateral support. So that can be another great challenge. And then on this last one, we're kind of looking at, it's a narrow path. Again, you don't have any, just stairs, which I think we all know can be a pretty big barrier to some people. So looking at this first one that I showed you, we talked about the extensive stairs and the lack of railing. So this is kind of the solution that we came up with for this one. So this is the exact same project. It's a little bit of a different angle so that we could get the porch lift in. But basically what we did here is that we modified the deck as well as we modified the railing, and then we could pretty much just plop a nice vertical porch lift there. It's great for mobility devices. It's great for navigating the stairs, and it's also great for navigating these larger kind of elevation changes because you're not needing to install a ton of ramp to be able to get to that doorway. It's simply making some modifications and sticking the lift there. And so this is an awesome option that we advocate for a lot due to the lack of real estate that it can take up. And honestly, cost-wise, when compared to some longer ramps, it can be the most cost-effective option as well. Next, we talked about this home. Again, something we're all familiar with seeing. For this one, we did end up going with the ramp option around to the back. So depending on where your primary place of parking is for your home, it can kind of help you determine where am I trying to get to, because typically we want it to be, for this client, they had parking at the back. So all we needed to do was provide this ramp down to that side walkway, and it got them to where they needed to go. Some things to keep in mind with ramps like this, you do need a 1 to 12 slope. So if you're kind of looking at your front step, or somewhere else around your house and you're thinking maybe I want a ramp there, the best practice for us and what we kind of never want to go steeper than is a 1 to 12. So basically for every inch up that your doorway is, you need 1 foot of ramp. And then along with this, sometimes safety gates are really great for people, especially when you're using a mobility device, so that if you're coming out, you don't run the risk of going down over the stairs. Having handrails with a graspable handrail on there for being able to walk up and down the ramp, as well as having landings that are adequate size. Again, if there's a mobility device involved, for being able to turn adequately and use the structure. And so with these requirements, it's very important if you are finding someone to build the ramp for you, that they do understand some of these requirements, because the last thing we want to do, of course, is, you know, put out some money to get a ramp built and then unfortunately it doesn't work, or it's very steep, or there's no handrails, things like that, or it feels unsafe. So there's tons of great resources online. And of course, we're always an open book with what these requirements are, but really important to keep in mind if you're looking to execute a project like this. And then kind of the option, honestly, for ourselves that we advocate for the most with getting into the home is, again, in this scenario, we have that garage. And for this one, we did end up moving with the vertical porch lift in the garage. This is an awesome option because, you know, we live in Calgary, winter comes, you know, any time of the year. Last thing we want to be doing is out there trying to shovel off a ramp or throwing salt down or dealing with the elements. The great thing is if you do have the space in the garage, it does not take up a massive footprint just to be able to put a vertical porch lift in there with a modified landing so that you can get right out of your vehicle onto the porch lift and up, or use the stairs if that's what you like. But this is great for winter use, easy to use and easy to integrate into the home. And it's all protected, of course, in the safety of your garage. So for front home access, this is kind of the optimal option that we look for. So next we're going to talk about the paths of travel that I was talking about. So as you can see here in the first image, again, we don't have very much support along the wall. So if you have long hallways or corners where you might need a bit of more support in the home, it's important to have that. And so having these bare walls can pose a bit of a hazard. And the next one, we're looking at carpet. So having carpets can reduce mobility, especially for those who are assisted by a mobility device. Rugs and other floor decorations or throws can also be a bit of a tripping or slipping hazard in the home and are good to kind of stay aware of if they're potentially posing a safety risk. And then another thing that we really see in a lot of homes is doorway width. So again, for mobility devices or just for pure comfort, a lot of homes you'll find that they typically have doorways from 24 to 30 inches. Ideally, when we go into an accessibility project or an age in place project, we're looking to try and get that 36 inches to just make sure that whatever you need to get through that door, you're going to be able to get through without too much of a hassle. Some people think it might be excessive sometimes, but the other thing with this 36 door is that, you know, you're moving mattresses, furniture, pretty much anything. The more space, the better for executing those kind of day-to-day tasks. And we find that clients actually really appreciate having that even before they're in, you know, immediate need of it. So for the lack of handrails that we have here, as shown, some options, you can go with smaller graspable handrails, which are really great. They fit in your hand really well, provide a ton of support, and can help you get through kind of those longer hallway areas. Another thing that you can have is on a lot of stairwells in homes, you'll have the balusters and the railing on the open side, but we'll then put in a matching railing along the wall so that you can have support on each side, because some individuals may have strength more on their left side. So when they're going up the stairs, they have a railing to go up, but then when they're coming down, they can't rely on the right side to help them out. So having railing on both sides is a huge asset to a lot of people in their home. And then one of the other things that I mentioned here is grab bars. I know it's something that a lot of us think of or can think of as, you know, I don't want the grab bar to make my bathroom look like a hospital or institutionalized. So there are actually options out there that we work with, such as these ones, that really integrate into the home and just have a really beautiful aesthetic and honestly look better than anything I have in my bathroom. So they look like something from a spa, but they're all, you know, ADA rated, look great in the home, and can just be can be a huge asset just for your bathroom aesthetic, regardless of their loading ability or the fact that they're a grab bar. And then the final point that we were talking about there, or sorry, not the final point, another point that we were talking about in the paths of travel is with respect to carpets. So a big one here, just showing these images. One of these images is from where that carpet was before. It was for a client who was using a wheelchair, and having a hard surface with virtually no thresholds can be a huge asset in the home. And when you think about thresholds, it might be something that you think, well, you know, I don't use a mobility device, or I don't use a mobility device in the home, but thresholds can also be a huge tripping hazard. And so just having kind of consistent hard surface flooring for the entirety of your home can be a huge safety benefit as well. And then having something with good traction, so, you know, not super glossy, big format tiles or something like that. Having a bit of texture to the floor can be a huge asset as well. And then the final thing that we have here for the paths of travel would be looking at the doorways. So there's a few different options. The one that you see here on the left was right before we put in a glass door. But this was the image from earlier where we had, I believe it was about a 24-inch doorway, and we were able to get it out to around a 32-inch. So just giving that extra space for the homeowner who was in a wheelchair to kind of access their bathroom comfortably, because initially you know, there are some doorway widths where it'll be tight and you can still kind of get in. But just how thin this doorway was initially, no matter how nice you make the bathroom, you need to be able to access it as well. And by widening the doorway on this one, we were able to. So some of the good options are those things to talk about for doorways, as I have listed here. Barn doors are a great option. They're something that a lot of people are looking to have in their home, regardless of, you know, what they need for accessibility, or without thinking about, you know, I need this width of a doorway. Barn doors are a great option. Another thing to think about is outswing and inswing. So typically when we go into a bathroom that we're trying to make accessible, or for an age in place family, you want to have the door swing out of the bathroom, because having it swing in can really limit the amount of usable space you have as soon as you go in. If you're then having to have space to turn around and close the door behind you, it's a lot easier to have it swing out, keep the bathroom nice and open without any barriers or obstructions. And then the final kind of option that we have here for the doorway, is having offset hinges. So these are specialty hinges that you can get. It can increase the clear width by about 1 or 2 inches. And it does this by, if you look and you just measure across the opening, that's not actually what you're going to have as a clear width, simply because how your door swings on the hinges, part of the door will. So having the offset will help push that doorway back and allow you to enter in without conflicts with where the door is situated. So then the next thing we can talk about, we're going to look at some of the issues that we find in bathrooms. As I said before, it's a very common area of concern. Bathrooms are one of our most common projects that we do for seniors, just because we're trying to eliminate some of the things that we're going to talk about right now. So one of them is the lack of room. This again is from that image I showed earlier of the widened doorway. But it was a very small bathroom, but the client was only able to live on the first floor of their home and work. Having a tight bathroom can be really difficult, of course, for people with a mobility device again, or someone who just wants a bit more space or needs a shower, because those are the things that take up a bit more space. So managing and designing around that was an interesting challenge. Next, another thing that we see frequently in bathrooms is having the ability to roll under the sink, whether this is for a wheelchair or if the individual just likes to be seated when brushing their teeth, washing their hands, you know, performing a lot of those common bathroom tasks. Having it be able to have your knees underneath is a huge asset to a lot of people. And then finally, you know, probably the biggest one of all is tubs and curbs. So if you've got a tub that you have a shower in, even if you have a shower seat in there, you still have to get over, you know, the 1.5 to 2 foot high curb to get in there. Often people don't have a grab bar or anything to hold on to. And we do unfortunately see a lot of clients coming to us after they've had some falls, looking to convert that tub either by putting a tub cut in it or just converting it fully into a shower. And then the thing to keep in mind as well is even in a lot of homes, you'll have showers that are considered accessible, but they'll still have, you know, a 4-inch curb that you have to step over to get into. And in that instance, you're holding on to glass panels or whatever's around you. Again, not really providing a stable or safe way of entering and exiting it, especially when you then consider, you know, wet floors and little rugs or something on the floor can be quite dangerous. So for this bathroom, as we were talking about, there was a huge lack of space that we saw. So we had to come up with some unique solutions, or not necessarily unique, but come up with some solutions to make it work for the client who needed to be able to wash and bathe and clean themselves on that main floor. And so what we ended up doing, as you can see here, some of the things that we incorporated into this bathroom was we put in a low profile sink. So what this did is it opened up a lot of that space. It removed the large vanity, and counter space, and was able to open it up so that we could actually fit some shower fixtures in there. We also went with the wet room style of tile for the bathroom because, as a lot of you probably know, when you have a shower in there, you're going to get water kind of all over the place, and it might seem like potential for mold or something if you just kept open drywall. So we wanted to go with a wet room style for that to allow for full waterproofing of the space. We also went with, if you look kind of in the corner there, we went with a low profile in the wall niche. So this again provides a place where the shampoo, soaps, all those things can be stored. But again, we're not pushing it into the actual bathroom area. Some of the other items that we have present the mosaic tile on the floor. This is an awesome option for flooring because when the water gets on the floor of some larger format tiles, you know, there is the risk that it might be a little bit slippery. With the mosaic, you have that increased area of grout, which really improves the grip that you can have with your feet or with the wheels of a mobility device so that you don't have that risk of slipping and sliding. And then another thing that we have on this one, which is a great option, is with in-floor heating. So what that allows is if you have the in-floor heat on mixed with that mosaic grouty tile, you're going to have the water evaporate a lot quicker off the floor, therefore improving the traction, as well as in the wet room style, kind of getting rid of the water so that you're not, you know, having a shower in the morning, but then there might be a little bit of water on the floor for an extended period of the day. Having that heated floor can really help evaporate that and dry the surface for you. And then finally, one of the things we have in here is we have the shower fixtures. So if you look there, we have a glide wand, which is on, we have a glide wand, which is on the adjustable pole there. So this allows you to kind of set it to different heights. You know, if you have guests over and they want it higher, or if you like to take your showers on a commode or in a chair, you can set it to a height that's accessible to you. And therefore easier to use and safer to use. Sorry, I know there was a lot of information on that bathroom. Yeah, so then this other one's one that was really exciting for us. This was a countertop and vanity that was not accessible for the individual using it. They were in a wheelchair. But the client really wanted to keep the existing vanity because it was a nice cedar vanity. She wanted to keep as much of the existing material as possible. So we worked really hard and we were able to kind of come up with this as the solution. So as you'll see here, what we did is we basically removed the one set of cabinets and put a new gable end on, as well as with a new countertop. So some of the things that you'll see in this, obviously it has the ability to be wheeled under now. And we were able to maintain the cabinets. But another thing that we have is we do have those undermount sinks. So what the undermount sinks can really help provide with something like this is you can have them rest a lot closer actually to the front of the countertop, which when you're in a seated position, every inch kind of matters for being able to get over top of that sink. So having the undermount was able to pull it a little bit closer to the front. As well as underneath, we were then able to set back the plumbing and the P-trap. So this just gives a bit more space underneath for your knees and foot clearance for the wheelchair that was being used in this circumstance. And then again, with this project, some of the other little things is we just went with the tile on the floor. And again, it had the in-floor heat and was a project that went quite well. And then finally, to talk about what I had mentioned previously is one of the big concerns in a lot of homes is the tub to shower conversion. So this is a tub the client wanted to be a totally zero threshold tiled shower. So we were able to transform it into this. So this is a pretty typical tub to shower conversion. Similar fixtures to the other bathroom that we had looked at. The only difference is that on this one, we also have the fixed head because some of the individuals in the home are going to be using it from a standing position, and it just lets you get that nice rainfall head. And you can just divert it to whichever one you'd prefer. And if you looked at this one for integrating it in, this is a fully zero threshold shower. So there was absolutely no threshold. We're able to do this by cutting into the subfloor and using some great products that we work with so that we can go into most homes and pull up the floor and make it fully zero threshold without too many issues. And this is really great again for those mobility devices. The client was supplying their own shower rod and curtain, but we also put a collapsible dam on the bottom that will collapse down when you roll or walk over it, but will stay upright so that it avoids getting too much water into the rest of the washroom. So these are something that are super common for us, and can really drastically improve the accessibility and someone's independence for bathing in their home. So here's one thing. The next one, we're going to talk about multi-level. Multi-level housing, even if you have a bungalow, you might want to be able to get into your basement. And then, you know, Calgary has some townhomes that I swear are like 10 stories high. So it's always a benefit to have, be able to navigate all those different levels. And so what are some of the issues with these multi-level homes? It's pretty much stairs. Stairs are, you know, the bane of some people's home experience, where they can't navigate from the bedroom down into the main level. And if they can, it has to be once a day, just because of the amount of energy that they have to exert to move around the home. So having stairs can be a huge concern, as I think we all know, and we have some options for navigating this. So one of the options that there is for navigating the stairs is looking at shaftless elevators. So this is something that we do quite commonly. It does not require a pit or reinforced walls, etc. What this allows us to do is you basically go into the home and you find areas that line up. So it can be, you know, a bedroom upstairs down into the living room or anything like that. And what this requires is re-engineering of the floor, of course, because once you cut a hole through all those joists, you're then going to have to distribute the load and figure that all out. We work with professional engineers, so we get that all covered. But again, it doesn't have the big shaft. It can kind of go in most places where you'd like it to, as long as it lines up. And it is a little less expensive than kind of some of the more conventional elevator shafts and options that there are out there. And it's something that we're seeing really pick up and there'd be a lot of interest in. So for those of you who are wondering, this one's called a stilts lift, if you'd like to look it up. We also have some more photos on our website of them, and social media and all those sorts of things. Then the more conventional, or what we all, I believe, probably think of when we're talking about elevators, is the more conventional in-shaft elevators. So these ones are really great if you want it to integrate into the home to the point where it becomes its own space. So you don't have a shaftless that is a part of your living room or a part of your bedroom. These ones are really good if you want, you know, that one door that leads to your elevator. They can integrate in quite nicely depending on the home you're in. There's also always the option of an exterior elevator shaft, which we are familiar with as well, where you then just have to kind of find where you want your doors to line up, but then you're not impeding on the actual livable space of the home. And these, some people may think it might decrease value of the home. We've only ever really seen elevators like this increase value of your home, especially with the exterior shafts, because it's just becoming something that is in so much more demand now. Another thing is you have a lot more of a variety of options with the more typical elevators, but they can be a bit more expensive than the shaftless, but it really depends completely on the home that you're in, the location that you want it, level of finishes, and you know what has to be done to kind of get it in there. So next we'll just talk about who can help. So as I talked about earlier, something that we've really worked hard on is partnering with a lot of other health professionals and services to provide kind of a full package, or at least know who to talk to, so that if we get someone coming to us, we can direct them to a trusted partner. So the first one that we have, and something that we've always had from day one, is occupational therapists. So something that they can do is they can really tell you, you know, how do I use my home? So they'll be able to come in, they can provide functional assessments, and they can look at, you know, progression and what should you be doing in the home to plan for the future. So they can be something that's a really proactive approach to your home modifications. We work directly with them and bring them in for our own assessments on some projects, because we at no point are trying to be health professionals. Even though we have quite a bit of experience, we're always looking for that professional estate agents. So this can be really helpful if you're looking at, do I renovate or do I relocate? Looking at the home value, and then if they can find homes that suit your needs. Again, as with all of these, we're aligned with real estate agents who do specialize in adaptive living as well as age in place living. And they know what to look for in the home. Even if you're looking to move to a home that is just easier to renovate while wanting to stay independent, there's a lot of really great agents out there, and that we'd be happy to connect anyone with. Then we have concierge services. They're a great option just for connecting with other services and also to see what your options are and to compare. So if you're looking at the cost of going to an assisted living facility, or staying in your home and renovating, or maybe moving to another home and renovating, they're really aligned with all these different services and can provide a very holistic approach to your home modifications or your plans for your home in the future. And they're also aligned with a lot of great in-home nursing care services and individuals who can help you with having a little bit of extra care in the home if that's what you require. Another thing is interior designers. So if you have a more large scale project where, it's not a bathroom or it's not some railings, but you're actually looking at maybe, I love my house, I've lived here for a long time, and I want to do a full renovation, but I want to make sure that I get to enjoy this entire renovation for as long as possible. There's some great interior designers out there who also work in the accessibility world and can provide you with that design portion to make sure that these larger scale renovations that you're planning to do meet your needs now as well as in the future. And then finally, there's organizations and nonprofits. I mean, we're talking through the Kerby Center right now, so I think we're all familiar with how these ones can help us all. But there's also great ones out there that can help with funding opportunities, different supports, and different services that can be really great to connect with. And then I think something that's important about all of these is I think they all really work together as well. I mean, there's no single right one, and if you do go to one, I have full confidence that they would then direct you to the direction that you need to go, even if that's not specifically their services. So then getting into the financial options, big renovations are great and everything, and we all want our houses to look like they're $5 million, but everything comes with a price tag. And so some of the things that are out there for financial options, one of them is the Residential Access Modification Program. This is one that we work with quite often. It's $7,500 a year to a maximum of $15,000 over 10 years. However, there are income requirements, that being $37,000 for a single individual in the home, or $46,500 for a couple in the home, and that's annual income. Other options is you have the Seniors Home Adaptation and Repair Program. This one's a low interest home equity loan up to $40,000, again with income requirements of less than $75,000 annual. And then finally, one of the more bigger programs is the reverse mortgages. Again, this is a low interest loan based on unencumbered value on the property. And this also has eligibility requirements that really more so dictate how much you can get based on the age, as well as you have to be Canadian and it has to be your primary residence. And then finally, there's a lot of contractors and banks that have varieties of financing options. We've aligned with certain banks to be able to connect you with them to kind of help with all the different options that there are out there. But there are things so that if you're looking at different options, we can definitely help out with that. So what are kind of the steps that we want to take from here? The first one would be to review. I would say, reviewing even just your home and looking at it and saying, what here is a barrier to me? And then going back through either the virtual or the recorded version of this presentation, or even looking up some things on your own. The next would then be research. researching whether this is for finding your own services or just contacting us, researching to find the best fit for you, and then reaching out. So if any of you are thinking about even any of the options or services that I listed, we're always happy to refer on some of our great partners. And so just reaching out to myself, I'd always be happy to connect you with whatever you're in need of. And then some quick tips to finish it off. So some of the quick tips for in your home. First one being rugs and carpets. We kind of talked about these can cause tripping and slipping hazards. So maybe trying to be conscious of, are these things getting in my way? Is every day am I kind of slipping on this as I make my way out the door? Because it only takes kind of that one time for us to slip and have a fall. Another one is chairs, making sure that you have good chairs with sturdy arms and legs for transfer. So if you're someone who uses a mobility device and you're transferring into a different chair for dinner or a different chair for reading or your morning coffee or your evening wine, just making sure that it's something that's holding up well and provides you the support that you need. Grip strips for the stairs, interior and exterior. This is one, especially now that we're getting into the colder months, and I swear it's like it'll rain and then the next second it's -20 and the roads are all ice and everything. So putting some grip strips on some interior exterior stairs are another great option. You can get them in the sticker form where they're more of a grip tape or a sandpaper on top, or you can get some of the plastic screw down ones. We typically just choose to go with the grip tape style just for moving snow and shoveling your stairs. It can be a bit more difficult when you have that larger piece of plastic screwed down on top. One of the ones that would be maybe a family and friends project can be handrails, grab bars, and other small additions. I would advise you though, if you are going to be putting these in, always put them into a stud or some backing. You don't want to put a 400-pound grab bar into drywall that's only going to hold 100 pounds, and then the first time that you lean on it, it yanks right out of the wall. So again, there's some online resources if it's family and friends looking into it, but just making sure that you're installing these things in a safe and easy way. And if not, those are other services that we provide. We do everything from the small grab bars all the way up to larger home renovations. So we're always happy to come out and pop some of those in for you. Tub cuts and bath modifications. This one starts to get a little bit more specialized, but there are other small, less expensive things that you can do in your home to reduce at least that 2-foot tub threshold down to a 4-inch one. It's not perfect, but for some people it can work. And then one of the final ones, door hinges, as we talked about, swapping to offset door hinges to increase your door width. And then finally, just small transition ramps. So in the image that you see here, this is a bit of a bigger transition ramp. It was about for 6 inches. And as you can see, we then needed 6 feet of ramp to accommodate that. But then even in the home, you can go on Amazon or you can go to local stores and buy smaller transition ramps just for getting, over a 2-inch threshold in through your front door, things like that. And even those little small changes can really make a huge difference for the accessibility of your home. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for your time and for joining me today. If you have any questions or would like a copy of the hard copy of the presentation or just wish to be connected with some of the services that I'd mentioned previously, please don't hesitate to reach out. This is my email and my phone number, and I just wish you all the best and to stay safe in your aging in place plans. And with that, I believe Colleen will pass some questions on to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
That was a great presentation. Thank you very much. Beautiful job on some of those projects. I'm most impressed, and I like your innovative ideas with using things like the barn door, for example, and the bath hardware that really eliminates that institutional appearance in your homes. So the great jobs on those renovation projects. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
We do have some questions here. Elizabeth would like to know about smoke alarms. Those a senior can't reach sometimes go off in the middle of the night. There a particular type of smoke alarm perhaps that might be best for an older adult?
That's interesting. That's not something that we've encountered, but that's a really interesting point that I'd like to take away. And if she'd like to give me her information or anything, I can like, we're always happy to look into options, and I can provide her with something for
Sure,
sure.
absolutely. And what we'll do is we'll share again your contact. And yes, we will be sharing this information again via the video that will be on our YouTube channel. Or anyone can feel free to reach out to me if you'd like a connection with Griffin as well, if you've got personal questions. And Griffin will share once again his contact there. Elizabeth also mentions or asks, please mention locks in case of fall when a person needs help. Locks in case of fall. Elizabeth, maybe can you elaborate on that? And in the meantime, Maureen would like to know about motorized chair stair lifts.
Here, I'll leave that there for now.
Okay.
Yeah, motorized chair stair lifts. Yeah, so I didn't touch on that for two reasons. One is because for a lot of stair lifts for ourselves, suppliers will manage the supply and install of stair lifts. So we don't have a lot of involvement in those. They are good options. I wouldn't call them permanent options. Something that we've seen with a lot of clients is they'll either get a stair lift in the interim for when they're getting an elevator or something. The main problem with those is the amount of energy that it takes transferring constantly, depending on how often you're planning to use it. As well as then you need either like a chair or a walker at the top, chair and a walker at the bottom. So I think stair lifts are a good option if you're using a walker, but as soon as you're looking more towards using wheelchairs, I think an elevator is typically a better option just because the transfer is a lot easier. But there are great suppliers out there, again, that we work with who do stair lifts, every day. So they're a good option for some, for sure.
I'm going back to Elizabeth's other question there. I think she's trying to answer there again, but I'm wondering if perhaps maybe she's referring to the necklaces that people can wear that in case they fall down. Do you do anything with that at all?
We do not do the necklaces. The closest that we get with respect to those sorts of things is we do work with some home and commercial automation companies who can basically make your home do whatever you want it to do and integrate however you want it to. So we do a bit of commercial work as well. So we have worked with emergency help buttons in bathrooms and things like that. And we do know some companies that do work in the medical alert necklaces, but that's not something that we really deal with fully directly.
Personally, I would like your opinion on some of these features for homes, like the Ring doorbell or intercom systems or something that people, if you have a difficult time getting to the door to answer it, or, for security reasons, do you do anything like that, those kinds of systems?
Yeah, we can definitely install Ring systems and a lot of those off-the-shelf ones. And then as a general contractor, and it's similar to the smart home guys that I was mentioning before, we do have clients who request those things, and we do have the ability to bring in guys who can do that specific work. But I think Ring and all of that equipment, I guess, is just a great option for anybody in their home. And yeah, we can definitely help with stuff like that as well.
Jenny's asking, those shower heads that are adjustable, can they double as a grab bar?
They cannot. We would typically put another grab bar in, just because a lot of those are actually built so that they will break away if there's a certain amount of force on them, just for other kind of safety reasons of the shower fixture manufacturers. They typically build them so that they don't stay on the wall if you pull. I think they're rated up to like something over maybe around 100 pounds or something like that. But as soon as there's like a jolt on it or something, it's typically going to fall away just because for the safety reason of people maybe using them in a way that they shouldn't.
It is nice to have the convenience of the adjustability for the height, especially if you're in a more than single person home where you've got a tall person and a shorter person. Elizabeth has elaborated here. She says, no, I'm referring to newer door handles that require a special key. The old ones could be opened by a small stiff item like the tail of a comb. I'm wondering if you're referring to interior doors, Elizabeth. The contractor discarded the special key. Everyone had stories about family members getting locked in rooms and having to break down the door. Are you familiar with locks that would have had a special key?
I'm sure they exist. We don't use that style of a lock on our projects. We always use the typical, be able to push button, open it in case of an emergency. As well as just because last thing you want to do when you're working as a contractor on site is lock yourself out of a bathroom by accident. So no, we haven't used those special, sorry, I have the questions loaded here, sorry. But yeah, no, we haven't worked with those before.
Elizabeth has brought back memories of being kids and one sibling running into a bathroom to lock the door, and then all you had to do was put a bobby pin in.
Yeah, yeah. I've definitely traumatized my own siblings.
We've all done that. How do shaftless elevators compare with chair elevators? What are their combined purchase and installation costs, ballpark?
Can we just confirm, for chair elevators, is that like a shafted elevator or a stair lift, I wonder? Because, so for a shaftless, I can give very rough ballpark numbers, but it is of course based upon your home specifically. A ballpark on a shaftless, I would say for going between 2 stories, so having a main level going into the upstairs, you would be looking at, so I'm just going to do some mental math, like maybe 50,000 minimum, probably up to, I would say, like 70, but it also depends on what you have in your flooring system as well. But that would likely be close to that for a 2-stop shaftless, as long as you don't have, I don't know, a pipeline running through your floor or something like that.
And Jenny has, and again, if anyone wants anything more specific, you're welcome to reach out to Griffin independently. And Jenny, thanks you for the information that you had provided to her. Anyone else have any questions? There's a couple of things in chat here. And unfortunately, Vi had to leave early, but she thanked you for the presentation.